aboard for Success Express, your business, career, and financial radio magazine. Hosted by Lisa and Nancy, editors of BigBlendMagazines.com.
Hey everybody, welcome to Big Blend Radio's Success Express Business and Career Show. So we love our time with Lea Brovedani, and she is on the show every third Thursday. Lea is the trust expert. She is known as the trust architect. She is a speaker, a workshop facilitator on trust, and she is recognized as a top thought leader on trust for the organization Trust Across America. She's also the author of Trust Me, Restore Belief and Confidence in an Uncertain World. Funny, we're recording this on Election Day. And she's also the author of Trusted, Secret Lessons from an Inspired Leader. So go to her website. It's thetrustarchitect.biz. You can also listen to her past interviews with us. Just go to blendradioandtv.com. And today we're really going to focus on gratitude. We know Thanksgiving is coming up. And Lea gets to celebrate two Thanksgiving because she's a Canadian, so
yes,
she gets to have turkey twice. Yeah. But welcome back, Lea. How are you?
I'm good. We just got back from Canada. We were up there for a quick week to celebrate our granddaughter's first birthday and first Halloween. So
wow, how did that happen so fast?
I know, and I'm so grateful that she is this healthy, happy, running concern. She started walking around furniture at 6 months, walking independently at 9 months, and at 1 year, you just chase her all over.
That's cool. I saw a photo you posted of you and Rick with her, and the joy on your faces where it's massive. Like you could see how in love you are with her. You're a little grand girl.
Yeah, we're very grateful to not just having a grandchild, but having a healthy and happy baby, and it's all about that.
It looks, you guys all look so happy, and we were talking about being grateful and gratitude, and Thanksgiving. Yes, you get to have two, so that's cool. But really, I think this is something that is an evergreen topic. Gratitude. It's something that is necessary in our life. Willie Nelson says his whole life turned around, and he had some crazy times in his life. Yeah. His whole life turned around as soon as he started counting his blessings. And I think that's a really good, I always think about that. I belong to a Facebook group. It's the Gratitude Club. And you're supposed to put down 5 things every day that you're grateful for. And no matter what bad things are going on in the world or in your life, negative, it really makes you think, I do have something no matter what. Yes, and, I read these posts from people going through really serious medical conditions and different things, and they find gratitude. And I'm like, okay, well, life ain't so bad. When you do that. I'm not good at posting every day, though. I got to get better at that. But I think there's something to it. What would you say, Lea, in not just the personal, but in the business world, in the workplace, the importance of gratitude, and how does that build trust?
Well, there's a couple of, there's a lot of studies, and I don't have them in front of me to quote on right now, but there is a direct link between gratitude and happiness and gratitude and trust. So one of the components of trust is that we trust people who we believe care about us. And then when you break that down even further, you'll find that when people express gratitude to us, it shows care, which increases trust. So you can see that there is this kind of direct link between gratitude and trust. Just before we started, we always have these really funny conversations before we go live. And Lisa and I had this common thing that I am told by enough people that I'm a nice or a kind person. And I always kind of chuckle at that because I know how I respond in my private moments. And one of them is that just something simple like holding open a door for someone and they don't say thank you. Yeah. And Lisa and I shared that we both sometimes, can get kind of snarky and sarcastic and say, "You're welcome."
And I may
funny.
have to give them a name, because if I don't know their names, I may have to give
They
them
give
one.
them one.
And I'm telling you, people, you don't want that.
Yeah,
You
and
don't want-
sometimes it's something that simple. I find that trust is built up of a lot of small things that build over time. And one of them is people who show gratitude for us. And so if you're working with someone and you're helping them, or like you're working on a project together and you've spent long, long hours putting together something and help the project, and no one shows any gratitude, no one says thank you, that has a huge impact on how we feel about how we are trusted and valued in the workplace.
Mm.
Yeah,
That-
there's
ahead,
one job that Lisa and I both had the same job in different stores.
I
We
was
were-
just her boss.
Yeah, right.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
No, it's funny. Because you couldn't work together because we're related. But we were teaching senior citizens to play organs, musical organs.
Oh, good. I'm glad you
Just to be
clarified
clear.
that.
And
Just
by
to
the
be
way, I don't think
clear.
you're allowed to say senior citizens anymore. I don't know.
Oh,
Is that politically
wrong?
correct? Retirees.
Oh, well, you can
I don't know.
retire at 30.
Yeah.
And-
Yeah, so I don't know. Well, I don't mean any harm by saying senior citizen, because I'm a senior and I'm a citizen and it doesn't bother me.
I don't know. I'm just messing with you.
Yeah, so we were teaching them how to play a musical instrument, an organ. And one of the things that I found when you were giving lessons, you would have the people who were really, really grateful. And even though they weren't supposed to leave you a tip or give you a tip, they would. And then others would just like, oh, as soon as the minute hand moved to the lesson ending, get up and walk out and not say anything. And you're like, well, what did I do wrong? I don't, and then it was like, well, I think that person doesn't like me, or I didn't teach them, or they didn't understand. What did I do wrong? And then the next time they come in, hi, how are you? La la. Yeah. And you give them the lesson, they get up and walk off and they don't say thank you. So the boss, my boss, said, well, that's you have to understand that you have done what you were expected to do. You're being paid to give them a lesson. You got paid, you gave them a lesson, and there's no reason to say thank you. And I was like, that's always bugged me. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, isn't it a weird attitude? But then he turned out to be kind of right. Some people always said thank you, and some people never said thank you. It just, I don't know if it's in the upbringing, how they're brought up, or what. But he just said, well, you've done what you were paid to do, so that's your thank you. I'm like, oh,
Yeah. And a lot of it
yeah.
is cultural too. I think that there is more of an expectation here, and I could be wrong because before I say things, I usually research. This is just my opinion.
Mhm.
And I think that in North America, we are proud of the fact that we don't have like the class systems, even though we do, and that, like there is the belief that you appreciate everybody at every level, and that's, or you should.
Yeah.
And so if someone is providing a service for you, you still say thank you. All of us have traveled, and we've experienced that in some cultures that you go to, they don't even acknowledge people who are providing a service for them. So, that's interesting too. And how much does that affect gratitude? Is it a cultural thing? Is it something we're taught? Just something to ponder. I think that people give you better work if you show them that you're grateful for it.
Mhm. I think that with any culture too. I mean, it's just, that you're being acknowledged.
Yeah.
Well,
And I
they
think
go
that's what
the
it is.
extra
It's
mile.
acknowledgement that you exist as a human being. When you think about a workforce, if you even start to feel used, even though you're being paid for your job, but you're being underappreciated, not being seen, even though you do things to make yourself seen, like you.
Yes. Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, hey, I'm doing that extra work on the project. A simple thank you can go so far. And it's the same thing as a smile. There's a war has actually been stopped just over a smile. So it's something that breeds, I think. So if you're in a workforce or working, situation where the team is happy and people are respectful and nice to each other, I think you're going to have more productivity and production done if it happens that way. If people start to feel crabby, then it's like, well, why should I take that extra step?
Yeah.
And then they may actually go find another job somewhere.
I used to do training in the military up in Canada. It was
Oh, wow.
actually I was teaching emotional intelligence training, which is kind of fun. And one of the enlisted men had told me about two captains when he was serving on one of the big ships. And he said the first captain came around and got to know people individually. So if he came up on deck, he spent an hour or so just walking around and talking to people, and he got to know who they were, what their names were. He could name their children. Like, everybody felt that he connected with them very personally.
Mm.
And then when he left, they got, and this is what the guy, he called him the attaboy captain. And he said it was like he had read in a training manual that you should go up and acknowledge people. So he would go and, say, "Oh, I see you're scrubbing the deck, attaboy," and he'd walk on and say the same thing to all of the other people. So it was gratitude, but it was insincere and it wasn't authentic.
Mm.
And they said that the first captain, they would follow into any kind of a firefight because they believed they could trust him, because they believed that he truly cared about them as individuals. And the second one, they didn't feel the same. And so who knows how competent either of them were. Like, the second one might have been a brilliant statistician. Did I say that right? Anyways.
That's a good word. I was like, wow.
Statistician. I like
I'm
that.
not going to try and say that.
But they didn't feel that he cared about them as individuals. So they might have trusted that he could do all of the planning for what they had to do. But because he didn't express that he cared or he was grateful for what they did, they didn't trust him with their lives, which is,
Wow.
I think, pretty profound.
That's pretty huge. And when you think about life or death, when you're in the military and you're serving, you rather want someone who's brutally honest and caring and
Well-
thoughtful. It's like when you think about giving someone a gift, right? If it's just like, hey, I'm just going to go blanket do this, but it's not a thought of who that person is that you're giving to, doing something that they would enjoy or that shows that you've acknowledged who they are, who their personality, what their likes and dislikes are. If something means something, it's special, that's important. So even when we think about gratitude, it does go into gift giving. And are you taking care of your staff over, are you going to give them a holiday bonus? Are you going to fulfill that? Because what if you don't fulfill that? That's a big no-no. If,
That's a huge
And
number.
we're coming up on a holiday that is about
Mhm.
gratitude and gratefulness. And I think that a lot of people do the same thing that my family did when we celebrate Thanksgiving with them. Is, the first few times I did it, I got a few eye rolls from my teenage children who are now not teenagers, but I would have everybody hold hands and they had to talk about what they were grateful for. And we're going into Thanksgiving, which is, just the term Thanksgiving is about gratitude. So it's an opportunity to build the trust between the family and to honestly, if we're living here, we are in a better position than a lot of people around the world.
Oh, for sure.
And
Absolutely.
that even goes into the workforce.
Mhm.
Look how many people are working, in just really bad factory positions around the world, making nothing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just that it's almost slavery. What happens, like
Yeah.
in the garment industry, is one of the worst.
And,
even
I want to acknowledge people here that are listening to this and thinking, well, right now my life is really pretty bad. And, if you're not working, I appreciate that, because not everybody here, and maybe not everybody who's listening, feels like they have a lot to be grateful for. So
There's always
sometimes
something.
looking for those moments, and Nancy and Lisa both know that one of the other things I'm trained for is working as an end-of-life doula. And I can tell you that the people who will say, like I've had people who have said that I'm grateful for this moment. And these are people who are actively dying. I'm grateful for this moment that there are people who surround me who care for me. I'm grateful for this moment that I have, so they're looking for things. I had one person who said, I'm grateful that I have a view of the sky so I can look at the stars.
Yeah. Cool.
See, those are the things. And I think that's, I think we take things for granted if we don't have gratefulness in our lives. And so you miss on what you have. If you don't stop and look at things like the stars in the sky, then one day that's how pollution happens, because you just take it for granted and you keep polluting instead of stopping and acknowledging, hey, stars in the sky. We have dark skies. They're so important, by the way. Dark skies are super, super important. Not easy when you drive across the country through road
I'm just
construction at
thinking
night.
about the last
Nancy keeps
thinking,
yelling like,
I was like,
damn it,
why
there's
aren't there
no
any
light.
lights? And she goes,
We can't
no,
see
it's about the
any- and-
environment. I'm like, I want lights.
no, you don't. You don't. It's not, it's bad for birds who are migrating.
I understand. I get that. But at night, driving at night isn't that much fun.
No, not anymore. No, the
Not
whole country is under construction.
Yeah.
I'm grateful
really
because down the road
is.
it'll be nice, and our roads will be
Yes.
nice and less potholes, and my car will be so much happier, and I
Right.
won't have to keep buying new shocks. So
Yeah.
so I'm grateful for that, even though
Yeah.
I give some nice language to those things happening in the road at night that you can't tell, and the signage is really bad about what's happening with construction zones. But eventually it's going to be really nicer roads in our places. It's going to be awesome. I mean, truly, this country is under construction.
It's
And so
almost every road.
I'm excited for the day when it's not.
This is something to be grateful for, because that
Right.
means that finally the infrastructure
It's
is
coming to be.
being repaired. Because
Yeah,
for years and years and years, people said, oh, well, we're not spending money on that. And it's like, And then the first time, like I drive a motorcycle, and when you're trying to go around potholes, and if they're filled with water and you can't see them, that's when people, smash and crash. So I really am grateful, even if I'm spending more money on taxes, that finally the infrastructure is being taken care of, so that I can cross a bridge and know it's not going to fall down.
Oh, here we go. We
Exactly.
got the bridge story. Here it is.
Yeah, we got the bridge.
See how I did that?
Hey,
Yeah.
everybody, Lee's story about bridges with Rudyard Kipling is in the brand new Way Back When History magazine. So check it out on blendradioandtv.com. I had to put a plug in there. But no, it's in there. It's really cool. But it's really true. I think I think gratitude is about slowing down and an acknowledgement of a situation or things that are being done, because sometimes we're so emotional about things. So our reactions may suck at things sometimes. Like you just get angry at the road construction and not like, hey, but this is happening, but that. So sometimes we need to take that breath and really look at all sides. And right now, like, look at the world. It's election day and everybody's arguing. And do not go to Walmart today, people. Anything could happen.
You could be grateful that we actually get to vote, because in some countries you don't get to.
That is huge. It's huge, especially
It
for
is.
our friends of color, especially for women. Women, we need to vote. Girls, ladies, we need to get out there and vote.
Out there.
So there's all kinds of things, and no matter what you're voting, who you represent, or want to represent for you, that is your personal thing. But I think we need to acknowledge the little things, and that is a workforce. I was, talking about cars and infrastructure. One thing you notice, like, okay, so there's road rage. Okay, you're mad at the construction, then someone cuts you off or
Yeah.
lets you through. Let's not talk about driving through Chicago the other night on a Friday night is maybe not
That
the
was
good time to do
interesting.
that with road construction. But because some people can drive really fast and some can't. But anyway,
Shouldn't.
there's this thing when things happen in construction, I always watch who lets somebody over. And if everybody paid attention and had that kindness of opening the door or letting the car in that needs to move when the lanes are closing, that,
Right.
hey, that lane's going to close, let someone over, then we have flow. And I was thinking about that the other night when we
Yeah.
were driving, because I let people in because it's so much easier and then we all get to move on. But if people are I'm really watching what is it whenever you come on the show, my language starts to flare up here.
Because we have a very inventive
Language.
swearing.
Nice word.
Yeah.
We have good language here. But
Yes,
yeah,
we
but
do.
if you let people in, if someone doesn't, then your reaction is automatically like, and
Well,
to
And
them.
look
So
at
it's this.
truckers, right? We love
Oh, I
truckers.
love my truckers.
Yes, because they're good drivers, most of them, and they're polite. And when they see somebody wanting over, they let them over
Mhm.
and they give them space. Now,
Safety first.
on the last drive, there was a trucker who did not perform well. And we were so insulted and shocked because, first of all, he's a trucker and there's, own it. You're a trucker. You're higher up than
They're the
everybody
soldiers
else.
of the road.
Yeah. And it was just, it came, we were like, oh, it's a trucker and he
But
did
but
that.
then you also have to remember you don't know what's going on in that person's life or if they're
Well,
tired or
no, I
what,
know. But you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Because we have such a high esteem
Regard.
for and regard for truckers and how they drive.
Nancy and I want to get a CB radio just so we can go, hey, thanks for this and that over there.
Yeah.
Like sometimes they're like your little
Do they
guiding
still
ship.
use them or are they on?
Yes, they do. And
Oh,
we
okay.
interviewed a trucker a couple years ago, and he
Mm.
said, you need to just go into the gas station. They have them in those big travel plazas, those CB radios. And we keep saying that's going to be our Christmas present, a CB
Yeah,
radio.
we
Could
should
you
do it.
imagine, like, we get to talk to truckers as we drive across the country? How cool is that?
So
And
what
it's
would be
really
your
rubber ducky.
handle? I want to know what
Rubber
your
ducky.
handle.
Rubber ducky.
Rubber ducky.
Rubber ducky. Okay.
Yeah, rubber ducky. It's a thing. So like if we have rubber
We
ducky
got us a
across,
convoy.
we got us a convoy. We get to play
Yeah.
that. But when you go into really big, if there's a really big crash or there's a big drama, then they really do know what's going on and they communicate. So like the first time right now where we're recording from in Northeast Pennsylvania, it's up in the rural areas. We drove from Asheville, North Carolina to here, and it was like one of those overnight crazy drives. Well, as soon as we got to this one area, there was a massive crash, and the slowdown was supposed to be 30 minutes an hour. It was hours. And so we were stuck at night. And so the GPS is giving us all these detours. And it was when we did finally go past the accident, it was like over 6 trucks that we counted that were part of this accident. It was,
Oh, man.
I mean, they had the detour signs. And so this had been going on all afternoon into the evening. And we started driving around 9 o'clock. So this was serious. And so anyway, we ended up on the side roads of this country road and we're still stuck there. And so there's this trucker behind us, gets out of his truck and starts running up to other truckers, right? And he was like wearing flip-flops and he was just like, he's got his little headset on. And I'm like, dude, I want to know, like, are they talking to each other? They're carrying on. I want to know what's going on. And then, so we were stuck and he's like trying to tell people we can move. And the reason we weren't moving is because the truck that was in front of us, that guy had fallen asleep waiting. So
Oh my God.
literally had fallen asleep. So this guy is all like, he's like, hot tempered, like, get up. And so then he like let us know, come on, let's all go around. And so we all had to pass around this truck that had fallen, this dude had fallen asleep and everybody's passing around him on this tiny country road to end up on a bridge and be stuck on the bridge because there's this lady driver. Trust me, this was crazy because she comes running down in her dress, and flip-flops too. They all drive flip-flops. She comes running down the bridge to all of us and we're stuck on the bridge and our car's on the bridge, half on the bridge, half off. And everything is shaking because of all the trucks. So to me, I'm not good at, I'm good at freak out, man. This is not cool because you're seeing just a sea of traffic under you. You feel like the whole bridge is going to collapse. And I've got the dude that's like, hustling everybody behind us. And he like, we had to all reverse because this woman in her gigantic truck didn't take the turn right on the off ramp and got stuck on the off ramp. So she blocked everybody. So she's running down going, and maybe it was her husband driving or something. I don't know, but she's comes up to our window and we roll down the window. You need to reverse. And I'm like, what? And so now we all had to reverse. And the trucker, the hustler behind me, the hustler in a good way, he was letting me know just like, okay, you can reverse. Like he was doing his lights. He was letting me know how far to go, what not to do. He helped us through this whole thing. And I mean, because we were all having to reverse together at once in unison. It was like synchronized swimming.
Yeah.
And
So,
eventually we got out of there.
What I hear is that the whole thing around trusting the truckers has been built around a lot of positive experiences
Right.
that you've had with truckers over the years.
Oh my gosh,
And you
tons.
bring it back to you're grateful for all of those experiences, which has increased your trust.
Right.
Huge,
Absolutely.
because when you do see a truck, like we almost got into it could have been a really serious wreck just a few days ago. Well, remember I was telling you my best friend from high school came here to this country,
Right.
flew over, and we drove from Connecticut to Michigan. It was like one of those big long drives to get there where she was. And it was beautiful. It was wonderful. Then we hit these toll roads, which had tons of construction and just, it was a mess. It was past New York and we were going through Indiana and Ohio. And anyway, all of a sudden it just got really one of those rough drives. Finally get off the toll road and to her town where she was, well, not her town, but her other friends and everything. And I take this turn and this woman, there's construction, but this one woman decides to just pull out in front of a truck. And we're both coming and I'm kind of next to the truck in the other lane. The trucker like veers off, honks at her, carries on. So she stops. Then she tried to do it to us. And I had to go off the road because of this woman. Like she was drunk or something.
Yeah, I think.
But it was that
pretty
trucker who was
shocking.
like, hello, if that trucker wasn't there before us, we would have been hit. And if I wasn't aware, I'm very good at that kind of driving, but defensive driver. Cause you can tell when someone's going to do something and you always need to go with your gut. If you think that car is going to pull out in front of you, they're going to do it.
Yeah.
So you got to act that way. And she did it. But there's truckers, there's one guy, there's kids that were high or something in the car. You're trying to get off onto get off the off ramp and onto the interstate. They sped up on me and tried to box me. And a trucker got behind them, flashed his lights at them, and basically just kept honking at them. Like, you will wake the hell up. And like, just because we almost went off the road 100%, but I know how to drive that stuff. But those guys were high and they thought it was funny. And the trucker was like, oh, no, you're not. And truckers will pull you in. They will call the cops on you.
Oh yeah.
Very quickly. And those guys
around you.
He would not let like them near me on the road. And I mean, I'm sorry, but I bow down. We've been through so much on the road. We've had in New Mexico.
You really are road warriors.
Well, and the trucker helped me. We had driven I drove the $1 Million Highway, which is like one of the most dangerous roads in America. It's up in the mountains in Colorado. There's no railing. And I'm scared of mountain passing. And I did all the major ones in one day and then ended up in Shipwreck, New Mexico, which we've been through before. But when we got to these kids again were high and they were as a joke. And they started doing this a few years ago, even in Vegas and stuff. And I'd heard about it. Kids pushing each other into a moving car as a joke.
Yeah. They
did
stand
that
on
to
the
us.
medium. On
And
the
then
major highway, they stand in the medium. And
my
then
God.
as cars come up towards them, they push each other in front of the car.
Mm-hmm.
That's a crazy thing. I don't understand where their minds are at. I mean, even if you're drunk or high, you kind of.
But they did it twice. I mean, this is after this highway, and then all of a sudden it's night. This happened twice at stoplights and Shipwreck.
Right.
And so once Shiprock, not Shipwreck, Shiprock.
Yeah, I was going to say that's funny.
I will keep saying Shipwreck. Well, we've been doing shows on Shipwreck, so I'm stuck on Shipwreck mode. Shipwrecks and mutinies, but we get on the main road and this trucker, like it was,
Mm.
this guy was like my guiding light. And I always wanted to thank this trucker. You don't know who they are. So that's why I want a CB radio, just to say thank you, because
Rubber
there was
duck.
this element of calm that I could follow this guy because he was smooth, steady. And people do that to us when we drive. You know, sometimes you have that car in front of you that you just go, they're doing the right speed. They're consistent. They're
Mhm.
steady at the wheel.
Right.
You can kind of, you know what I mean? That
They're
they're kind of taking the
responsible.
lead. Yeah, they're taking the lead for right now. And you have this automatic trust on the road. So that leads to your, tenets, your 5 tenets of trust. One of them is consistency,
Yes,
competency,
yeah.
commitment, because they have to get there, right? Caring. I mean, this is all part of this gratitude. So yes, I love truckers.
Okay.
And the communication, I'm just having this little
Huge.
this image of Lisa and Nancy saying, "Hey, big guy, it's Rubber Ducky here. Just saying
That's right.
thanks."
No, it's a big
Yeah.
boy. Hey, big boy.
Hey, big boy.
My, what a big
Okay.
truck you have.
Oh, hello.
Oh no. Oh no.
I
You
did
went
that.
there. You did
I did that. I did that. Sorry. Well, they, some of them have bigger trucks than others, with those double ones,
I
and if
think you
they're
should
carrying a
stop
bunch of
while you're
cars.
Yeah. And so, Lisa, do you like the ones who have big trucks better than? Okay, we shouldn't go
No.
there.
What I
Oh,
don't
boy.
like is the people driving rental trucks, because half of them don't know what they're doing,
Yeah,
and they're
they don't
driving
know.
across the country. It's the first time they've driven a U-Haul, and
Yeah.
I remember the first time I drove one, I went right off the side, over the sidewalk.
Oh.
I was like, "Oh, look at that! My tires can do it."
One of
Because it's fun.
my best friends, her daughter is going to be moving from Canada, like from Eastern Canada into California. And
Ooh.
she wants to, I mean, she has 2 dogs. She wants to rent a big U-Haul truck and drive it across the country. And it terrifies me
Mhm.
because she
Mhm.
can't drive a small car.
Uh-oh.
I mean, she's just not a good driver. And it's like,
Uh-oh. She shouldn't
Uh-oh.
drive. She should
she
fly.
should not be allowed to rent. Like, they should have some kind of test to see if before I let you rent this U-Haul, you have to pass a test to show me that you know
Agreed.
how.
Competency comes
I
into play
think-
here.
Yeah,
See,
that's why you trust. Like, you have to show some competency. Sorry.
That's what insurance has replaced, that kind of thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah. So insurance will pay somebody somewhere for something that shouldn't have happened, but it doesn't erase pain or death.
Yeah.
It's only money, right?
Hey, Nancy, you had to go
Yeah.
serious on us, huh?
Oh, well, it's the truth, it's because of insurance, and maybe, I don't, depending on how you were taught to drive and what age you are. Sometimes I think, okay, you have the younger kids coming up and becoming adults, and they're driving and they speed, and then you have older adults that are getting slower and slower, can't see or hear as well. I mean, it's the same. Well,
So here's what we're grateful for all of you listening. If you don't have to drive, we're really grateful if you take the bus.
Hey, and listen, and the environment will thank you for that.
Absolutely.
And there's
Right.
solar power electric buses in some cities now, which is,
Mhm.
isn't that cool? Like,
Yeah.
so we're getting better. And there's so many people out there, so many people to be grateful for. We even think about what we've gone through with the pandemic, and you've got to think the healthcare workers and all the people in the grocery stores, and people have done so much over these years. And I want to give another shout out to teachers, because they've gone through hell during the pandemic.
Yeah.
Absolute
Oh,
Yeah,
big
hell.
time, big time.
And I just don't think people think about them as much as we should, because they've had to go through political wars about masks, not masks, all of that stuff in schools, and yet you've got to think about, it's a personal choice too, your body, and there are kids. It's a mess. They've been through so much, and yet still have to be strong for the kids.
Yeah.
So I really think teachers have gone through it, especially, I mean, obviously the healthcare workers and all of that, but I think teachers, we've got to be grateful for them having to do so much and then not have enough teachers, we don't have enough. So, we've got to be grateful for the ones. And part of it is that I think we're in a shift in this country and it's around the world. COVID changed things so much that employers and management and leaders need to show a little more gratefulness to their employees, because there are employees out there, even if they're working remotely, will work, longer hours than they should. And they do it out of caring or just, they're that minds, like Nancy and I are kind of like that. We'll keep going until someone says it's wine time.
And just to let everybody know, a really decent wine time is 5 o'clock and any time after.
Okay. All right. So then you can just keep going until the next 5 o'clock.
Yeah, absolutely.
See, I like this. We can't wait to meet you in person, Lee. This can be fun. Our next interview with Lee, we're probably going to do while we're both Nancy and I will be in Savannah where Lee lives. And, we're going to get to finally meet Lee after all these years. And that is something to be gratitude. That's big gratitude, when you think about that. So yeah, I think gratitude's not always about, the gifts and everything, but if you're going to give a gift, maybe think, do it with gratitude and think about who you're giving it to. And, that I think is something for employers to look at too. I really, the more we can do, it's not just about raising minimum wage. It's the more we can do for the team to feel special. Because we know that even with, what we do as pet sitters, Nancy does, talks to the doggies that don't eat their food and she gives them the specials.
And
she tells them it's all about the specials.
I tell them it's special and it's the same food. And then they get all wagtail and they eat it.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
I just go, here comes the specials. Are you ready? Are you ready? Do you want the specials?
Who wants the special? I want the special.
I want the specials.
I want the specials.
The tail wags, and then they're grateful for their food, which they found boring. However, I have learned to put little toppings here and there where needed.
Yes, depending on the dog and their diet.
Difference, yeah.
See, it is that. It is just that. It's about the specials. People want to feel special, and if they're not Lee, now how's that? See, isn't that something too about learning who you're working with or for, or who's working for you? If you can't find something to be grateful about, then you have to kind of second guess, does that person belong in the company too?
Yeah.
That's the flip side, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, I worked in HR for a number of years, and then I've done enough training and everything. And then, there's that, a lot of those memes are written because there's so many times that show it's true, that the whole thing that says people don't leave companies, they leave bosses.
Right.
And if you're working for somebody, and I've coached some bosses that had problems, and I don't think, none that I've met so far, thought, yeah, I'm just going to be this mean son of a gun and treat people badly. None of them thought that. They had this perspective that in order to be a good boss, I need to let them know when they do something wrong. That's my purpose. If they're doing it right, they already know that. I don't need to say anything. But that's not the way it works. People need to know. They need to be shown what you're grateful for, what they're doing right. And I've done training where I've shown people that if all you do is criticize, pretty soon there's that fight or flight. Well, there's fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. That's a new one that I've learned, that a lot of times when people feel like they're being attacked, they start fawning over someone because they want it to get better. So if you want to have a really strong workforce, let them know, yes, if they're doing something wrong so they can correct it, but do it as, if they're always doing something wrong, then they're not in the right position, but let them know what they're doing wrong so they can correct it, but let them know what they're doing right so they can continue.
And do it even more, because they'll amplify it.
Yeah.
Whatever happens gets amplified, and human beings amplify, right? And If they're doing something really right, then it's like, ooh, now I can do this, and more ideas come.
Yeah.
And not having that gratitude and acknowledgement, I think, stifles creativity, or people will get real creative and it won't be for you. It'll be something else.
I remember one boss. I worked for a national company that had branch offices all over the country, and they kind of bounced their people from one office to the next office, and every time they bounced you somewhere, you were promoted to a new job and you learned new stuff. And in this one office, the first manager's meeting, the boss said, let's get this straight. When I say jump, you jump. And I started laughing because I thought it was a joke. I had absolutely not one part of me thought this guy is serious, because I found
Oh
it
my
to be
goodness.
so ridiculous and so out of line with the company policies and every other office I'd worked in. And when he said jump, I started laughing, and then everybody else started laughing, and he left the building and he didn't come back for 2 days. I'm like, uh-oh, I think I'm in trouble. But seriously, I thought, well, what a weird management style. It didn't work. And then about 2 months later, he was replaced. But he got replaced, and I had nothing to do with him being replaced. I just merely laughed at what I thought was obviously a joke, but apparently it wasn't. That was his management style. When I say jump, you jump. And I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm not jumping.
Nancy's not a sheep.
No, I'm not going to jump. I'm not. It's not going to happen.
No. Say no to jumping.
Yeah.
Just say no.
I say
Not a
no to
jumper.
the jump. No.
No, God, that's terrible. That
I
is
know, isn't it?
horrible. But
It's
it really
weird.
is. But when you have the opposite in someone is aware of what you're doing, and that, it even goes more than the gratitude. It's just that awareness that they see you doing something. They see that you've put that sweat equity in, or brain equity, whatever it is that you do. I think that's a huge part. It's just exactly the same thing as opening and closing the door for someone, not saying thank you. It's, and then it can spiral the other way. Then the people that are doing the nice things as opening the door, they're going to keep opening the door for people. I do so. Because if you don't, then you've become like, rude and
I think that
crotchety
becomes part of you.
Yeah, you should be doing that, because you're not doing it for the thank you.
Yeah.
It's not for that, but it's that acknowledgement, that lack of, it's just plain rude, actually. It's just
it is
plain
rude.
rude. Yeah.
It is rude.
So
it's like when somebody waves at you and you don't wave back. I mean, if it's a creepy stranger, fine, don't wave back. But
yeah.
If somebody smiles and you don't smile back, that's kind of rude.
Yeah.
I mean, it is kind of, our body language says a lot more sometimes than our speaking voice.
Yeah.
I agree. Yeah. I agree. Well, Lee, thank you for another fun conversation. You never know where these conversations go. Like, seriously.
It's true. It's always fun talking to the two of you, and I'm looking forward to meeting you both next
oh my
month.
gosh.
And I think that we might have to experience one of the rooftop bars and have a couple of glasses of wine.
Oh,
Trust me.
Oh, we trust you. Well, I mean, we trust you too, but we trust you. We trust you on that. We'll go to the top. Yeah, we'll go wave at people from the rooftop.
Absolutely.
Can you imagine the amount of trust it took for people to get on this ship and boldly go where no one's ever gone before, and find a new country, land, and start living and developing that country? Can you imagine the amount of trust it took?
Well, you don't want to trust in Christopher Columbus.
Well, but I mean, that's why we have Thanksgiving.
Why are we still celebrating Christopher Columbus? Didn't they get rid of that day?
That's that's a topic for another show, Lisa.
Yeah.
Is it? Uh-oh.
Well, maybe.
Am I in trouble again? I said the C word.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, no, really. It is. But Everyone, again, keep up with Lee. Go to her website, thetrustarchitect.biz. Go get her books, Trust Me, and the other one, Trusted. Go get them on Amazon, all those places, or go to Lee's website for that. And again, you can hear her here every third Thursday at Big Blend Radio. So go to bigblendradio.com for that. So thanks so much, Lee. We can't wait. We'll see you soon. And Lee,
Yeah.
happy second Thanksgiving for the year for you.
Thank you, and happy Thanksgiving to both of you, and thank you for another great interview.
Thank you, and happy Thanksgiving to all of our listeners. Thank you. We
Right.
appreciate you. We appreciate everybody that is part of our Big Blend family, and every listener is. So thank you.